Hey, it's Monica Nicholsberg. If you've been enjoying our deep dives into the regional economy on Booming, here's another podcast you might enjoy. The GeekWire podcast is a long-running weekly show about the world of tech from the perspective of Seattle and the greater Northwest. On every episode, local journalists dig into some of the most interesting stories and trends they're seeing, because what happens here matters everywhere. Find new episodes at geekwire.com/podcast or in your favorite podcast app.
Hearing static when you enter a tunnel in the middle of a fascinating story? Hanging out in your driveway to catch the end of a report? We've been there. With the KUOW app, you can listen to your favorite programs anytime and anywhere. No driveways required. Let's get going. Download the KUOW app now, available for iOS and Android.
For the past week, Amazon employees have been doing the unthinkable, donning real pants, fighting traffic, and putting off laundry until the weekend.
Amazon's sphere of influence in Seattle on the city's future is growing again.
Amazon is demanding its corporate employees return to the office 5 days a week.
Unlike most office workers, Amazon's 350,000 corporate employees are now expected to come in every day.
And a lot of them are wondering what's behind that decision.
It's like, why? All I need is an internet connection. I just don't get it.
I'm Monica Nicholsberg.
I'm Joshua McNichols, and this is Booming, a podcast about the economic forces shaping our lives here in the Pacific Northwest.
There's been a lot of speculation over what's really behind Amazon's new policy, and one question keeps coming up. Is return to office code for you're being laid off? That's next.
I don't like my job, and I don't think I'm gonna go anymore.
You're just not gonna go?
Yeah.
Won't you get fired?
I don't know. But I really don't like it, and I'm not gonna go.
Okay, Monica. Amazon isn't the first company to announce a return to office policy, but most of those companies are just calling workers back, 3 days a week, 4 days a week. So why does Amazon feel the need to go to this extreme?
Well, it started about 8 months ago. Amazon CEO Andy Jassy said that they were going to start coming in 3 days a week.
What I've noticed since we've gotten people back in the office at least 3 times a week is that the collaboration is much better. The innovation is better. People understand the culture better.
And then in September, he published this memo saying they want to take it even further. They're seeing these benefits, and they think that those will only increase if they go to 5 days a week. I chatted with a guy named Sam Rainier, who's early in his career. He's a data scientist at Amazon, and he is interested in more mentorship. He thinks that Jassy has a point here.
When I started all remote, there was a couple people on the team that were like senior level, that were these go-to people for information, but I still felt like it was very daunting to poke my head in their office virtually and say, hey, do you have some time?
He thinks that being in person could relieve some of that anxiety, although not for him.
That person is still virtual for me.
His boss is based in Virginia. And like a lot of people I talk to, his team is distributed across different cities, so their meetings are still happening online.
Right. I bet that's happening in a lot of places. I know somebody who works at an architecture firm where people still meet on Microsoft Teams, even when everybody's physically present in the office, because it's better for them. When they're in the office, they all have to sort of lean over these construction drawings so everybody can see the architectural detail they're describing. But when they're remote, everybody can zoom in on that image on their own laptops and have it right in front of their face. So it's actually more effective to work remotely. So if a lot of Amazon teams are continuing to meet online, even when they're in the office, what's the point?
There's a lot of that feeling going around.
So what else are Amazon employees saying about this decision?
I talked to about a dozen employees, and most of them were pretty unhappy about this policy. Some have disabilities that make it hard for them to come into the office full time.
Autism, it kind of means that you can't really truly be at peace when there's other people around, is what it boils down to.
Others have young kids at home.
It's going to be harder for me to get home in time for bedtime. So it is something that I'm sad about.
And a lot of them brought up this idea that Amazon hasn't given them any proof to show that returning to the office full-time is good for business.
The only thing that I'm left to believe is that management has ulterior motives. We're not dumb as employees. We're adults. We saw how productive we were in COVID.
They think that the real reason for the policy is a backdoor layoff.
Backdoor layoff. So what does that really mean?
Well, returning to the office is going to be impossible for some employees to comply with. So some percentage leave the company. It's essentially a layoff by attrition. I talked to a Stanford economist, Nick Bloom, who studies this kind of thing, and he says there are some compelling reasons to thin your ranks in this way rather than doing a traditional layoff.
The reason it happened and why it's really an outlier is Amazon was driven by something different, which was the need to cut headcount. So Amazon hired very aggressively in 2021-22 with the rebound from the pandemic and suddenly discovered they just had too many employees. And so, option one is to fire a bunch of folks, but you have to pay them severance pay. It's expensive. People get very angry. So option two, I think their view was, look, why don't we call everyone back to the office for 5 days a week? Probably about 10% of people won't like it. They live too far away. They'll quit on us, and that will save us a lot of money.
Now, we should say Amazon adamantly denies that this is what they're doing. They've told me that in statements, and Jassy actually addressed this in an all-hands meeting in comments that Amazon's PR team shared with me. But that memo that I mentioned earlier that Jassy published, it wasn't actually about returning to the office. It was about cutting middle managers and reducing bureaucracy. By the way, you're going to also have to come in 5 days a week announcement was 10 paragraphs deep into this bigger statement about the direction the company's headed.
It's not quite a confessional, but you don't have to go very far to join the dots on this one.
Is there any evidence to show that people actually will quit over policies like this?
Yeah, there is. And Bloom actually studies this. His research shows that there's no loss in productivity when companies only require employees to come in 3 or 4 days a week. And there's an increase in happiness and employee satisfaction. People feel pretty good about those kinds of return to office policies. When you bring people back 5 days, what you get is higher rates of quitting without any of those other benefits.
That 5th day doesn't get you anything. You don't get any productivity impact or improvement from that.
Okay. So we've heard about a lot of these downsides of a 5-day-a-week return to office policy. Are there any hidden benefits to this approach?
Yeah, I think there's a valid fairness argument here. We've been talking about office workers at Amazon, but Amazon also has this huge warehouse workforce that's never been able to work from home. They were going in all throughout the pandemic. And so I think there's a case to be made that the workforce shouldn't be stratified in this way, where some employees get this benefit of working from home and others don't. And then there's also this argument about mentorship and teamwork, that there are things that you can get from being in person that you can't get from being remote. Although, like we mentioned, Bloom's research shows that you can get those benefits from being 3 or 4 days a week in the office.
Does Amazon's approach mark like the beginning of the end of the work from home era? Are all these other companies going to follow them?
Well, I don't want to make too bold a prediction here. Amazon could be an outlier because they have this headcount issue, because they hired so aggressively during the pandemic, and not every company can afford to create these very polarizing policies among their workforce. I do think that there are some companies that probably have wanted to implement a stricter return to office policy, and maybe Amazon gives them a little cover to do that. They don't have to be the big bad guy to go first. But not all companies are going to follow suit. And I think some actually could use working from home as a recruiting tool to siphon off some of the talent from companies like Amazon that leave.
Right.
So Zillow, for example, is a Seattle real estate tech company, and they're planning to stay remote forever. Their head of HR, Dan Spalding, told me that their employee sentiment has never been higher and attrition has never been lower.
We have 4 times the volume of applicants that we had before we engaged in this strategy. So for us, by any measure, people are excited to come work at Zillow. And, I think if somebody out there is looking for a great distributed job, we'd love to talk to you.
So I think in some ways working from home is a current that's very hard to swim against, especially as technology gets better and it becomes easier to do your job from home. But everybody is watching to see if Amazon will be a bellwether because it's very tempting to follow where they lead simply because they're viewed as this very successful, innovative company.
Coming up next, the end game. Welcome back. We're going to play the end game now. Lucy Suchek, our producer, is here.
Hello. Glad to be here.
Hi, Lucy.
Hi. Okay, so Amazon seems like it's tightening its budget. I think that's a trend for this year for many of us as well. Taking a hard look at what we spend our money on. So we're going to play a little guessing game about where people spent their money last year in 2024. This data comes from the AP, Associated Press, and PBS. So I've got some winners and losers of big stores and also kind of like categories of where people spent most of their money.
Okay.
And we're going to start with the winners. Can you guess which stores and categories won in 2024?
I'm going to guess Amazon.
Yeah, I was going to say that too.
Yep, Amazon. Prime Day event in July, record sales, classic.
And I'm going to say Walmart too, just because they're another version of Amazon now.
You're right. A lot of people shop for groceries at Walmart because they're so discounted. It's actually 60% of Walmart's total business.
Yeah. And they got a lot of the same Chinese imports that Amazon has.
Okay, we've got one more store / restaurant. That's a hint. Kind of a restaurant.
A restaurant? Store / restaurant.
Costco?
No.
I love that you classified Costco as a
Costco
restaurant.
is a restaurant.
You're right. It is a
To
restaurant.
be sure.
Well, because of their hot dogs?
Yeah, hot dogs, pizza, those like weird smoothies that are just ice cream, I'm pretty sure.
No, McDonald's.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
All American list there.
Yeah. Okay, the next two are not individual stores. It's kind of like types of stores. So, yeah, that's your hint.
Okay, are more people going on vacation and like buying clothes? I don't know.
Clothes is a close one.
Clothes was going to be my guess because I know that each year, if you look at the charts, the amount that we spend on clothing just keeps going up and to the right.
Yeah, so actually it's jeans sellers.
Oh, because
jeans are back.
And everybody's getting rid of their skinny jeans.
Wide leg jeans are back. Yeah. And actually, there's 4 people in this room right now. 3 of us are wearing wide leg pants.
And mine are straight leg. So
not a skinny jean in sight. That's a good point, though. The trend cycle around denim, I feel like, moves faster than everything else. I truly cannot keep up. And it does feel like you have to replace your pants all the time to be current.
Yeah. So Macy's, Abercrombie & Fitch, Levi's, Gap, and Stitch Fix are some of the major sellers.
Well, there's also been a revolution in fabrics where now they're adding a little stretch to everything.
Interesting. I love that.
And we should just note the story arc of Abercrombie & Fitch.
Oh my gosh.
That was not on my bingo card. They have come back.
You are so right. Okay, the 5th one is like fast casual chains like Kava, Chipotle, Shake Shack. They really had their moment last year.
Ah.
Yeah. Okay, Chipotle, another one that just keeps rising from the ashes.
Okay, next we'll get to the losers. So who are the losers in 2024? We've got some big name stores, and then we've got some kind of categories like before.
Well, I know that as Walmart and what's seen as kind of the budget grocers have been doing better in this inflationary era, Target has not been doing as well because they're seen as a little bit more of a high-end product in the kind of big box store world. So that's my guess.
You're right. Target. Yeah, Target did not do as well as Walmart because of the perception of it being more expensive.
What about drugstores? And I say that mostly because so many of them are closing. I know a lot of that's related to mergers and stuff. But when I go into almost any drugstore these days, it seems like a bunch of their shelves are empty.
I know. I'm like, are you okay?
They don't feel okay. Bartell's does not feel okay lately.
Yeah.
Drugstores is not on my list, but I'm sure that it belongs in here because you're right. I always wonder if they're doing okay. Yeah. Starbucks is on the list. It did not do as well.
Oh, wow.
That's surprising.
Another one, though, that's like within these broader categories of fast casual it doesn't feel like the budget choice, right?
Mhm.
And so if people are trying to be a little bit more careful, I could see them cutting out the $7 latte.
Yeah, that was me.
I keep getting small Starbucks gift cards for presents, so I guess I'll keep going there.
Yeah, you yeah.
But I don't order $7 lattes. I order a drip. So it takes me a long time to work through.
Very conservative.
Yeah.
I still go because of the drive-through. Because if I have my kids in the car seats, it's like I cannot get them out of this car for anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. Department stores didn't do very well last year. Not surprising.
I just reported on the last Sears in Washington closing, so
Yeah.
I can't say that's a surprise.
Yeah. Big ticket items like things you would buy from Home Depot, Lowe's, Best Buy, bathroom remodels and appliances, home theaters, gaming equipment. They did not see their highlight last year.
And because of the high interest rates, fewer people are building homes right now. So that could be a reason why, Lowe's and Home Depot aren't doing so super great.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to have you guess the last one. It's in the kind of restaurant category. There's a few names here, so.
Restaurants that did poorly in the past year?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
See, what's a luxury chain of restaurants?
Red Lobster?
Yes.
Oh,
Red Lobster. How did you get that?
I have no idea.
Red Lobster, TGI Fridays, Buca di Beppo.
Oh, Buca di Beppo.
Yeah, I've never been to.
We used to do this is kind of sad, but for a while we were doing Thanksgiving meals there. Just because it was so hard to cook for so many people, and we were stressed because we had little kids and stuff.
Well, they've shuttered dozens of locations, so.
I hope not here. They're so friendly and they have so much flair.
That reminds me of Office Space. Jennifer Aniston's character, works in a restaurant. She's required to wear 37 pieces of flair.
Do you know what this is about?
My flair.
And she has a total meltdown about it.
Well, I thought I remembered you saying that you wanted to express yourself.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I do. I do want to express myself. Okay? And I don't need 37 pieces of flair to do it.
That's it for Booming. Thank you so much for listening.
We really couldn't make the show without your support. So if you want to show us some love and donate, go to kuow.org/booming. Thank you.
And if you have a question about something going on in the economy that you want us to answer, email us at booming@kuow.org.
Our producers are Lucy Suchek and Whitney Henry Lester. Our editor is Carol Smith. I'm Joshua McNichols.
I'm Monica Nicholsberg.
And we'll see you next time.